Have you not listened to your elders, my friend?
I've listened to the elder, but I don't listen to.
Okay, you have.
Welcome to Right Between the Eyes podcast, a KISS podcast with 3 generations of KISS fans telling you why we love it loud.
This gets me. You look out into the audience and you see a 50-year-old gentleman with KISS makeup on, and next to him is his son, who's 30 or whatever the amount is, and on his shoulders is his kid, and they're all in makeup, and you do that. I'm the big bad guy. That's when you turn around and you go, oh, because it gets you, because it's more than music.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Right Between the Eyes podcast, a KISS podcast with 3 generations of KISS fans telling you why we love it loud. I'm one of your hosts, Rob Myers, and welcome to the Road to Rosemont series. This video and the 3 videos you're getting ready to see over the next 3 days, if everything goes according to plan, is a behind-the-scenes look of the recording process for the Road to Rosemont series. So, hopefully you've listened to the full audio episode. I might drop the full audio only into YouTube. And you may be saying, well, where's the full YouTube video? Peek behind the curtain. I love behind the scenes footage and documentaries and things of stuff like that of what went into your favorite movie or TV show or whatever. So this is a look at our podcast, what went into this episode. So the truth of the episode, if you've been listening carefully on all of your podcast catchers for the audio version of this show, we all weren't actually together for this very first episode. Scheduling had got changed a couple different times, so all the participants couldn't be together. So if you've heard the episode 45, hopefully it sounded like we were all together. A lot of editing went into it. So you will see with Xander's video from Kiss Army Things and Brant's video from In My Head, and then the RBTE, us, with myself and the Carusos, I took all of that audio and I put it all together in a way to make it sound, hopefully, like we were all in the same recording. We all wanted to try and do the very first episode together, and we just couldn't get the schedules coordinated just right. So I had all this video footage, and I actually tried to piece all of the video footage together so it would you would have something to look at. But then I got the idea it's a lot easier to edit and slide audio around just on the audio side, and it's a lot more work to do video. So I thought, wouldn't it be kind of cool for you to see the individual video pieces unedited, no, cutting and splicing anywhere. This is just the raw footage. So Xander was the first one to record, so he was actually my guinea pig of me asking whatever questions I asked Xander. I had to replicate those questions in some form or fashion to everybody else, so I could ask Xander, like, oh, what was your first KISS experience in Chicago? Then I had to ask everybody those same questions. And some had little, obviously, different answers, or maybe I worded it a little differently. So I got 3 takes from my vocal track to figure out how I was going to ask that question. So by the time I got to Brant, I kind of had the show down. So it was really kind of cool, at least on my part, to hear the different ways I was asking people. And then I was finding ways to overlap, laughing when people had, something funny to say. So it sounded like the group of us were all laughing together. It's a crazy feat in editing. But as far as the YouTube channel, I really wanted there to be a proper Rosemont episode. So I thought about putting the full, just audio only, and our Rosemont logo up on the screen just so you could hear it. But, go check out an audio version of our show on, Google Play, Stitcher, which they're getting ready to close. If you have a Stitcher account, that's going to be closed very soon. But Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can find audio versions. And I think I'm still going to be putting the audio version in here. So that's a lot of talking, a lot of blathering, but what you're going to get to see here right now, this is Xander and I's interview. And then once I had all these, discussions done, I compiled them all together and put them into hopefully one seamless version that you've hopefully already got a chance to check. So enough rambling here. Let's get into Xander and I's first part of the Road to Rosemont. So this is a 6-month mini series. We're going to do one of these a month, and there might be some satellite breakoffs. This is all of us going to the November show, November 27th in Rosemont, Illinois, to see Kiss play, and it'll be all of our last shows. So if you're watching this series for the next 6 months, this will all end and culminate in all of us being together in one room, seeing Kiss together, and being able to record some footage. So let's get into the Xander edition of The Road to Rosemont. So this is going to be a hodgepodge type of a thing. Yeah. So I told you once before I had to do a podcast where I was, I had to re-record stuff, and I did send you the audio drama I did for a Batman and Robin. I had people record different lines, and so I did this whole comic book where everybody read all their parts, and I put everything together, added music and stuff. But anyway, so you're kind of going to be my litmus test. I'm going to be asking you some of these questions first. So then when I talk to the Carusos, I'll get your response, and I'll tell them, hey, this is what you said. So if they want to go, oh, Xander had a really good point there. So it just seems, so I don't think there'll be a video component. If there is, then it might be the Carusos, you, and Brant as just one type of thing. We'll get everybody on schedule for one down the road.
Cool.
So we'll keep this loose. Did you watch the footage I sent? Not that we're going to go song by song, just if there was anything about it that you're like, oh, that was cool, or just kind of talking more. We'll just start it. There's no intro.
I wish I could remember more about it, but I had some thoughts about it.
Okay.
So yeah, we could talk a little bit about it, but I did watch that show. Yeah.
Okay. We're just going to keep this loose. There'll be no intro because I'm going to do that tomorrow with Nick and Nico and all that stuff.
Okay.
So we'll just kind of start here and just bear with me. I may kind of go a little bit to figure out the pieces. This is what Rob's brain is like on a daily basis.
No, I feel you though. When it comes to the podcasting, man, it can be crazy. I get it.
Yeah.
I was looking for a set list, but I don't think I see one right now.
It's pretty much the basics.
What's that whistling? Is that me or you?
Oh, that's a bird out the window. We got a new bird feeder. I think that's our cardinal out the window. Gotcha. chirping up a storm. Of course, I turn the mic on and I'm like, dude, go.
That's hilarious. Chicago, Illinois, 96. There it is. July 14th, right?
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Were you there? Or, don't tell me. We'll talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We'll just start. 3.
Yeah. Go ahead.
2, 1. So we've got Xander here from Kiss Army Things, doing our first official Crazy Rosemont episode. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing amazing, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I've been looking forward to this series. We've been talking about doing it for a while. I've been looking forward to it. So finally it's happening. And thank you so much for having me on.
It's going to be really cool once this episode's all put together and all the craziness that's going to go behind the scenes. But over the next probably 6 months, I'm assuming we're probably going to do 6 of these. And I don't know if there's going to be satellite episodes, but it's going to won't be as surreal because you and I have been at a Kiss show together, standing side by side. But to get a group of us together to be all in the same place, especially with those of us that have all podcasted together, it's going to be kind of a cool experience. And Jeb is coming along for this show. Is that correct?
Jeb will be there in Rosemont. Yes, Daphne unfortunately won't be, but she will be with Jeb and I in Indianapolis. That'll be cool. She will get her one last kiss as well. But then after that, I'll be heading up to Rosemont to meet up with you, the Carusos, and Brant, and we're going to have a rock and roll party for sure. I'm very excited.
Tonight, yeah. Sorry, you started that line. I had to finish it.
You have to. It's one of those things you have to finish.
Every Kiss fan, you'll hear somebody just say something random in the world, and you're like, that's a Kiss lyric. I need to finish that thing that you just said.
Yeah.
But I kind of been asking everybody, why Rosemont? Was it aside from like the podcasting thing, like, oh, well, you're going, or was this one of those, I'm going to try and squeeze in as much Kiss as I can? I just kind of want to get two questions here. Why Rosemont? And have you seen Kiss in Chicago before or any other concerts?
First of all, I love the question. And if I derail and get off, make sure to keep me back on track for that. I love the question, because just like many other things in life, it's very layered. It's not just, this one answer and this one straight line. So really, I mean, yeah, you said it right. Or you said it best. We want to have as much Kiss as possible. So when this tour started ages ago, back in 2019, when they first announced shows, I said, look, I don't know what they're going to do and where they're going to do it, but I'm going to see as many shows as I can. We bought tickets for Louisville and Cincinnati and Indianapolis. And those are all within about an hour away. So we said, look, we're going to hit the hot spots, and that's probably going to be it. We didn't realize that they were actually had a show scheduled in Fort Wayne, just a few hours north of Indianapolis. So we said, okay, fine, we'll squeeze that one in. But that's when COVID hit. That was like right before COVID hit. So at that point, we were thinking, yeah, that was our last show. That was going to be it. We didn't realize that there were going to be other shows in our area. So you mentioned, did I see Kiss in Chicago? Yes, we actually did get to see the show in Chicago. October 16th, I think it was. Let me look. Yeah, October. I have the confetti up here.
jar.
So
nice.
It was Tinley Park in Chicago, October 16th, 2021. So because so much time had passed, it was like, oh, well, now I've saved up enough again. And because when you buy tickets, you're like, all right, you're splurging. And then once the show comes, it's like months and months away. So, we had like a year or two to recoup. So it was like, all right, yeah, we can go afford to see one more. But I don't think anybody could have anticipated the final 50. The fact that they were going to just announce more in the States and sort of, this is where they were going to put a cap. We knew a cap was going to be put on at some point, but now we have the official date. So as far as, why Rosemont? Well, when they announced Indianapolis, I mean, that was pretty obvious. That's home turf. That's, our home state. So we're obviously going to go to that one. But in between buying tickets to Indianapolis and Rosemont, Jeb actually ended up moving to Illinois. He doesn't quite live in Chicago, but he lives in and around that area. And so because he's going to be traveling back to Indianapolis for the show in Indy, I'm like, well, I mean, what's it, why not me travel to Illinois and go see a show
just to hang out with your brother, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was literally like, you know what? Just it's always just one more. And you give yourself any excuse to do one more, especially when they give you one more. If there's tickets available, I mean, we're going to buy them. So I think that, so there's all of that. But then when, you guys are obviously had tickets to go first, and you guys said, this is going to be our last show, you and the Carusos together. So I thought that was really cool. And then so to be able to join you guys, we have tickets 2 sections above you.
That is amazing. I mean, you guys could have been clear on the other side of the arena.
Yeah, I made sure to I was like, Rob, tell me what section you are. I'm going to get as close as we could. We were looking at price points, and that was it. So I think you guys are section 111, something like that. We're 211, something like that. So yeah, we'll be able to see you guys about 10 rows up. But to be there with you, the Carusos and Brant, and then maybe to hopefully possibly afterwards be able to all get together and kind of record a final farewell to seeing Kiss live, but also just being able to do that together and see each other, meet each other, and then be able to have that forever. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So yeah, like you said, you'll just give yourself as many excuses to see Kiss as possible.
Now that's funny. You said you saw them at Tinley Park, and I know Nick and Nico are shaking their head. They were at the Tinley Park show. Of course,
really?
Yeah. So this is really weird. So, the thing that we've all kind of been looking at is the reunion show in Rosemont at the time in '97. It was called the Rosemont Horizon. Now it's the Rosemont All-State Arena, I think is what it's called. So, Nick, being at the time, because Nico wasn't born yet, he went to that show. I'm trying to remember in the tour. I'm sure I'm going to put an annotation. There'll be an editor's note somewhere in the episode. But, I saw him first at the Tiger Stadium show. And then, that was the only show. It was, I was just, 4 years out of high school. So I had money, but I didn't have lots of money. But getting to see Tiger Stadium show, I was like, it doesn't get better than this. Well, a year later, they do the Lost Cities tour, and a buddy of mine says, hey, do you want to go to the Fort Wayne show and go see Kiss? And that was like a no-brainer. So fast forward all those years later, we're putting together this podcast. Nick and I realized we are both at that same show together.
Wow.
So we were at that show. You guys were at that show. I mean, probably with, thousands of other people, but I think that's kind of cool that all this comes together, that you guys were at a show. The little trading cards that I made for the podcast, they took those pictures there at the Tinley Park, the Tinley Park show. So it's just kind of this really cool, like 6 degrees of KISS podcasting. And that, we've got Brant that has a 20-year gap in between shows, which goes into the next question is, what will be your show total? How many shows will you have seen by the time you reach Rosemont?
So it's funny. I never thought that I would get to this point. And
this is a 2-part question.
Okay, for sure. I was going to say, because I always thought that it was going to be 10. When we bought those 3 tickets for this tour, it was going to end on 10. And I thought, okay, 10's a nice number to round it out with. I don't even know where we're at now at this point. I'm going to go ahead and recount, but I love the fact that I just can't readily remember anymore because I'm at that point. But it's still, I know, is nowhere near some other fans. But no, so the 10th one was Indianapolis. That means Fort Wayne was the 11th. And then 12th would have been Tinley Park, 13 Dayton, 14 Louder Than Life. So 15 will be Indianapolis. So that means we're going to end it on 16.
Ooh, I'll be one behind you. This will be 15 for me. And it
Nice.
would have been 14, but because of Randall, we were able to go to the Columbus show. So I'll have to show you. I showed Brant my little spreadsheet. I have an Excel program set up where every song that has, well, put this way, the top of the list is every show that I saw, and I have columns going down for every song, for every tour that I saw. So I'm counting how many times have I heard Detroit Rock City, how many times have I heard, and figuring up what will be my end KISS set list. If we do the 9, where are the top 9? We could probably guess the top 9 songs that I've heard, but it's kind of cool to watch the Excel spreadsheet. So every time I see a show, I put a 1 in it, and I've got it set up to count, all the ones in that row. And I showed Brant, and he goes, "That's kind of cool." And that's a lot of, that's a lot of work, but I've been kind of curious to go, what would be everyone's if you tallied all your shows and did that, going through like Setlist FM or using Julian Gill's KISS book? I just look and go, oh, here are the songs. So, of course I'm not counting like, oh, I saw Detroit Rock City here, just one time through, and just looking to see what my numbers were. Songs like Tears Are Falling, I only saw once, and then all of a sudden it's like, because of the end of Road, I'm like, oh, I've heard that song 5 times, which, you answered that question. How many times on the end of the road have you seen it, which you're probably up to like 5 or so now, I imagine.
Yeah, let's see. So the 3, I think we'll end it on 7. Yeah,
7.
About 7 shows on this tour, which is crazy because I was always the one that you would just be lucky to see 1 show on a tour, and then Freedom to Rock we saw 2, and so this one it was like, all right, well, if this is the end, we might as well just go as hard as we can and see as many as we can because it's going to end at some point. So we'll just got to get all we can take.
Well reference, yeah. All the KISS fans are like, I hear what you did there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've been saying for a while of, I hope there's a set list change. I hope there's a set list change. I think at this point, unless they do something crazy, like the set list is continuing to be the same all the way through the UK. I think Making Love has been added. I didn't get to hear Making Love in Columbus, but do you have any thoughts of like, maybe they're going to pull something out, or I think at this point for me, it's more of like KISS is the backdrop to the engagement that I'm going to have with everyone, that we'll be able, it's going to be interesting to experience a show with Nick and Nico and then talk to you guys afterwards and beforehand and all that stuff. It's like KISS is almost the second part of the event where I'm looking more as just the experience of hanging out with everyone else. So what are your thoughts about, are you thinking like what it's going to be like when the lights go out for the last time and the curtains come up, or,
Well, yeah. So you asked first about there being set list changes and what I would or could anticipate. Well, I mean, you mentioned Making Love, and I think the fact that Making Love is in the set is great because that's one. Actually, no, I didn't get to respond to your thing about the whole Excel spreadsheet, dude. For one, that is amazing that you put the time and effort into it. Number two, I've personally thought about doing the exact same thing. Like just the other day, I was thinking, like, man, I bet I've seen Detroit Rock City probably, almost 17 times, and I've probably seen Say Yeah like half of that if you think about it. So I was kind of thinking like, wow, I wonder like what are the top, you said 9 because of course RBTE, but I was thinking like what are the top songs that I've seen live, and so I think you may have inspired me to go and try and do my own little, because there is power in data, we all know that. So
that's right.
I
can quantify, like I have seen Kiss this many times. This apparently is the song that I've seen the most.
Numbers do not lie. Exactly.
Right.
They doesn't lie. So I love that. Now, as far as what maybe we could add to that list and maybe what we would like to see added to our live song list, well, first of all, Making Love is in the set list, and I'm grateful for that. I think it's awesome. I was kind of thinking that maybe they weren't just going to change anything and they were going to keep everything the same and just kind of ride the wave on that. So to see them adding in Making Love is hope that there are going to be changes, even with them dropping Do You Love Me and putting in I Was Made for Loving You as the encore. I'm not sure if you saw that or not, but in one of the recent encores, it wasn't Do You Love Me. They put I Was Made for Loving You in that spot, which was taken from the main set list. There were, there's different things happening. I think at your show, they played Beth and took out Do You Love Me?
Yes.
The Sonic Temple. And then when I saw them at a festival, they actually took out Beth and had Do You Love Me? So that was a flip flop. So there are some changes happening. But even if Making Love was the only thing that was changed, I'd be okay with that because that is one song that I have not heard live. And so if I'm hoping that it makes it into the set list and stays in the set list when they come back into the US, because I want to hear that live. I want to see it. I love the Big Phil, of course, you're a drummer, the way Eric's doing it now is he goes all the way around the, across from coast to coast from the toms and then ends it with the double bass, and it's just awesome because of course on the studio version it's a full fill on just the tom drums, but Eric Singer adds in the double kick and just it's perfection. So I like that. I think at best what we could expect is if they were to come to the States and want to try and do something new, I think at best what we could see is maybe one song per night being changed. One night they do Making Love, and then the next night in that song's place they do like I Stole Your Love, or they do something else from Kiss Alive, or something from Kiss Alive, or something else. I think at best we could probably just expect maybe one song a night to be changed. That would be awesome, I think, but who knows if they'll even do that. Hopefully, I'm just hoping that Making Love stays. I love Making Love. Rock and Roll Over is awesome, so give me that song.
Yeah, and Nico is nodding his head.
Yeah, I Stole Your Love.
Yeah. It's one of those two. I was looking back at the set, like Hide Your Heart was in for a brief moment, and I think Let Me Go Rock and Roll did Parasite, was it early on in?
They played Parasite in Fort Wayne for like 1 or 2 shows.
Okay.
It was definitely at the Fort Wayne show, and it was the only time I've ever seen Parasite live, and it was fantastic and awesome. So yeah.
like stuff like that. I know us Kiss fans, we want all these big gestures. I'm like, just go back to songs that you've already done on the tour. You're only going back a couple years. Pull out Hide Your Heart. I could go, okay, I'd be willing to lose Heaven's on Fire for Hide Your Heart, or Heaven's on Fire would probably stay. I could see like Tears Are Falling getting swapped out for, a non-makeup for a non-makeup, because they're not going to pull Lick It Up. They're not going to pull probably Heaven's on Fire at this point.
No, I think didn't Tears Are Falling get pulled for Making Love, because that's not the set list anymore. Tears Are Falling.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So that was a non-makeup for a makeup, which is kind of unfair, but you can expect that to happen.
yeah, definitely.
They're very strategic about how they pull out these songs because Rock and Roll Over is a very popular album, so they're already playing Calling Dr. Love, so you could just pull another song off an already popular album and just kind of do it that way. But who knows?
Right. Now, I did want to talk briefly about the actual show at Rosemont, but before we get to there, when we go out on vacations or do stuff, I'm a building guy. I don't know what it is. We go somewhere. I like to look at the architecture of the building. I like to walk around, especially if I concert venue. I want to do a whole entire lap. Are you a venue person when you get in the venue, or is it more of like, yeah, this is just a means to an end? I'm here just for the show, or do you kind of take in, especially if it's someplace new?
Wow, I wish I was. I wish I was. I like the fact that you have that, and that's something that you look forward to. Because I'm quite the opposite. It has nothing to do with the fact that I don't like buildings, but when it comes to concerts specifically, I'm looking to get in and get out. I don't leave. Of course, I don't leave before the ending to Rock and Roll All Night. I don't leave before the end of a concert. But I don't know. I guess when it comes to big crowds, I like to just get in and get out. And so maybe if we're on a vacation, I like to look at our architecture and things like that. But not so much a venue. Just being honest. I don't know.
I'm weird like that. That was something my dad liked to do when we went to go see a Tigers baseball game. He wanted to walk around the stadium, even to spots of like, let's see if we can get to areas of a stadium that we don't have tickets for, especially we get there early for batting practice. So I think I just took that in, something dumb at the lobby of a hotel. I'm looking at my wife going, hey, did you go see this such and such? She's like, I'm just trying to check us in. So like, I think it's a cool fountain or whatever. I'm just losing people on a KISS podcast right now. They're like,
that's
what?
So funny. That's great.
But the Rosemont. So I sent everybody the video to Rosemont, and this is going to be an add-in to the main show. I just kind of wanted to pull some things from you just about that show. I don't know how much reunion stuff that you guys have talked about previously on your channel. Have you guys dove in, or were you guys just pretty much like Tiger Stadium and just the overall reunion tour? Have you guys gone into any minutia events or things that are a little different?
So as far as on the show goes, we haven't really dove into anything beyond Tiger Stadium, maybe the Brooklyn Bridge performance and some of the earlier stuff that was performed, maybe even Madison Square Garden. I think that was a bonus disc on Kissology Volume 3, at least with mine.
Yeah.
I know there were different bonus discs, but I got Madison Square Garden. So as far as on our show goes, we've only briefly talked about the reunion tour, considering that we weren't on that tour. Unfortunately, both our parents were, though, which is awesome. So they got to see the show in Indianapolis. I think, which one? I think the August show. But what was the question again?
Oh, just I guess more getting into the specific of this actual show of the 97.
So as far as on the show goes, we've talked about other stuff, but we haven't really dove into it beyond that. And it's funny because on our show, I've actually been pretty outspoken about that concert. I kind of see that tour without my KISS fan goggles, and I kind of look and I see how rough and raw that tour was at some spots, and I've been very outspoken about that. But when I went back and watched this show from Rosemont, I mean, there was none of that with here. I was completely blown away when I watched this show, and I hadn't watched anything from the show before. I have seen other things like the Weenie Roast. You can find that full performance pro shot on YouTube. So I have seen plenty of other reunion tour shows, but not this one in particular. And I don't know who filmed it, but I'm glad they did, because it was some amazing not pro shot, but amazing crowd shot footage. Because for what it was, 96, I mean, there was no cell phones, nothing like that. So it was pretty cool footage. Yeah,
to be able to probably take a camcorder back in the days is probably big as a coffee mug or bigger to try and sneak that in. Like now everybody's holding up their cell phones and you don't think anything about it, but to bring in some type of a camera. And I was actually really surprised that the footage, other than a couple like head moves and them moving stuff around, it's pretty clean and it actually sounds pretty good. We've had a Spotify issue on the show, so this isn't copywritten. So I'm going to put just little tiny little clips from Rosemont in here. But it's something that, having been to the Tiger Stadium show and seen like all these other like Kissology things, I think we said on one of Brant's shows about like favorite stages or whatever, that this is a very forgettable stage. It's not until like I'm watching the footage, like when you think of, a live tour, you're thinking of the staircase and Hot in the Shade, you got the Sphinx, and you can pull out like the spider stage. This is one where you're like, what's the thing? What's the gimmick? It's like, oh, It's the amplifiers that come up, which I remember being in Tiger Stadium looking at the stage going, that's it. That's all they have for amplifiers. And what's, because we were so far back. So I just wanted you to talk like on the staging, like what did you think of the reunion stage at this point, being that you got the original band back together and this is their stage?
Yeah, as especially a modern Kiss fan, I definitely think I'm pretty spoiled in the way of stages. I mean, considering the fact that this new End of the Road tour is pretty awesome. Of course, the Monster stage was really sick. You go back and watch what they were doing on Kiss Rocks Vegas, and the Freedom to Rock tour was pretty awesome. So I'm pretty spoiled in the way of sets. So yeah, looking at this set, it's very scaled back. It's very, almost like anti-Kiss, because Kiss is always like trying to fill your senses with everything at all times. And so, but I wonder if maybe that was sort of the point where it was like a return to form where, back in the early days, you look at some of the early shows and they just had walls of amps and on a stage. And so they were kind of maybe taking that concept, but yet scaling it up to, where they were at now. Maybe they didn't want anything to overshadow them and the original four. Who knows? Maybe it was also a budget issue because they hadn't really made any money from that tour yet. So, how much did they have at their disposal to put in the stage at that time? Who actually knows? But because then once they did all that, they had Psycho Circus, which was the big 3D. And of course, that's probably where all the production money went to. But who knows what they had at their disposal in 96, 97. But you are right. It is a pretty forgettable stage. It's almost like a live 35. That same kind of stage they were using between Rock the Nation and 05, 06, 07.
Just staircases and like amplifiers and just a bunch of lights everywhere.
Yeah, very bare bones.
I saw a Kiss convention tour from on YouTube just yesterday, actually, with doing a Q&A with Eric Singer, who was doing a drum clinic. And one of the questions, it's so weird that they were going to film Kiss Unplugged in 2 days, I think. Maybe it's 2 weeks after the Detroit show. And somebody in the crowd asks, what would happen if the original members get back together? And Eric was kind of like, I don't know. He's like, those guys are on a different level of playing. He's like, I just don't think it'd be the same. He goes, quite frankly, I don't know if it would work. And then just to know that's 1995, and within less than a year's time, the reunion tour is there. And then, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because, okay, so first of all, I've never heard that before. I'm glad you told me that, because I've seen some of those Eric Singer drum clinics that he's done at those were convention shows. They're totally awesome. So that's really cool that you got to see that. So anyway, as far as him making that comment, now let's look at this and let's be honest, because again, obviously the original four, they're sacred, the makeup sacred, all that. Let's take away all of that and just look at the original four versus where the Revenge lineup was musically. Was Eric right?
Yeah. I mean,
or was he wrong?
I think he's right. At some point, I remember being in Tiger Stadium going, Deuce feels off. I didn't know what it was. And a buddy of mine's like, no, you're just disappointed because it's not Eric and Bruce. I'm like, no, that's not it. But it's interesting being at a venue, you get kind of caught in the show and then getting a chance to see a bootleg of it. Or when the official thing came out, I was like, yeah, it did feel a little off. All that rehearsal that Tommy had to do with Ace and Peter. And this isn't me not trying to bash
nobody's
Ace and Peter, but you could look at it and go, hindsight being 2020, Eric was kind of right. I'm sure I know they got to that point where they were playing as good as they were going to at that point, but they were a lot older by that point, where Paul and Gene have been playing these songs over and over and over again. They never left, where Ace and Peter wasn't doing a heck of a lot right before the reunion tour. So I just, even in the Rosemont footage that we were talking about, there are some moments where I kind of go, kind of pause a little bit, but there's some pure magic in that show as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, nobody's trying to bash, because I mean, let's make no mistake about it. Kiss did the right thing by having Peter and Ace come back into the band. They made the right decision by putting the makeup back on and doing that reunion tour and then doing Psycho Circus. Without that, Kiss would not have survived to where it's at today. Those are just facts. Just like if Kiss had continued with Eric and Bruce, even though it was musically superior than what we had with the reunion, it probably wouldn't have lasted as long because they were kind of treading water at that point, doing convention tours and things like that. So, we're not here to bash. We're just looking at the facts. And so I think that with, Gina Paul having Peter Nace come back into the fold business-wise and securing Kiss's legacy future-wise was the right decision. That came at a cost, which I think was the quality of the music and the actual, the songs themselves. Whereas, again, if you look at it from the flip side, you were having the best, songs and performances out of Eric and Bruce with Gina Paul. But that may have came at Kiss's survival because not everybody wanted to see that continue on. Everybody was real excited by the reunion tour.
Oh, yeah.
How could you not be? I mean, the fact when I watched that show, the first thing I got out of that show was, wow, there's so much more energy here at this show than there is a show today. Which obviously back then, everybody was a lot younger. There was no internet and no cell phones to kind of get you in a predisposition or anything like that. It was all just raw and real. And so I liked watching that come across where everybody, and even at Tiger Stadium where everyone's just going nuts, letting loose, they're sweating and they're just like, oh my gosh, we're here in the moment. So, regardless of what we can say about the music, it was all rock and roll and it was well worth it. They did great.
Are there any highlights from the Rosemont show? Like I'll take this one first, like hearing, New York Groove. I mean, how many times, like you're talking about the set list, project that I've got going on. Twice in my life have I ever heard New York Groove,
Wow.
Some of those songs, the reunion tour, that was the only time I got to hear some of those songs. I got to hear, I Stole Your Love one time, before I heard them on the Rock the Nation tour in Detroit. And they only played that song twice on that tour. And I got to hear it the first time on the Rock the Nation. I haven't heard that song, since. Wow. So just from that, the video, as good as quality as it can be, was there any standouts that you were like, oh, that was a really cool performance, or that was a really cool thing in the video? If you can remember that.
Yeah, it's been about a week since I watched I did watch the entire show. So I probably should have made a couple notes on it because I know that there were a few moments in the show where I was like, oh, that's really awesome. That's really cool. That's different. But of course, now all I can think about is just, again, how energetic that show was and how even the band themselves looked like they were having fun, because I think sometimes we look back on that and like, oh, they're all just miserable at all times on stage. And that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
They can have their fun on stage and then, have issues here and there. But, they were pretty good at, having good shows and just kind of keeping it all off stage and doing their best to come together as the four on stage. And with the reunion tour, I mean, at least this show, I mean, they did great. I mean, I know that, yes, there were some rough spots and some raw things on, some things that went wrong and maybe didn't sound quite up to snuff here and there, but that's just the part of it. That's just what happens when you haven't played with a group of people in like 13 years and, you're wanting to get out there and be a real rock and roll band. So I can appreciate that. But this show, no, man, it was a near flawless show. I loved it. The energy levels were through the roof, both band and the fans. It was awesome. And you're right, the set list was pretty unique because they really did ditch everything except for those core 70 songs. I mean, they did none of the 80 stuff. They didn't bring Lick It Up and Heaven's on Fire back until the farewell tour. So, I mean, this was like real. You got like King of the Nighttime World. And I think the Revenge lineup did play some of that stuff live during their tenure, but I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Just to see King of the Nighttime World, I Stole Your Love, and New York Groove, of course, a solo song. What? Crazy. Yeah. So there were a lot of cool stuff that was happening on this tour. Now, as far as did Gene fly on the show with the strings? Did he go up into the rafters?
I don't think he started doing that until the Lost Cities tour, because I know. I'm probably
going to get on Tiger Stadium. I could have sworn he did at Tiger Stadium.
Maybe he did. This is where something's going to come across the screen if this becomes a full video, or I'm just going to edit into the show and go, no, Rob is absolutely incorrect. I think he did fly. Maybe what I'm thinking is Paul. Maybe Paul didn't start doing his gimmick till later. So I think, Gene did. Yeah, I'm going to say right now, I'm almost 100% positive.
I think I am too. And it's cool because, obviously in the 70s and in the early days when he was flying, I don't think he was capable of using the strings, at least not in the way that he is now. That seemed to be more of a modern thing. Like, hey, look, we're doing the whole Gene, because he used to get on lift and the lift would lift him up like on the Destroyer or Love Gun tour, whatever it was.
I want to say they did it a few times on the Dynasty tour.
And so Dynasty or Unmasked, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had some kind of wire set up, but the modern flying rig that we see really came to fruition for the first time on this tour, it really feels like. And so that was really cool too, where you're seeing something from classic Kiss being kind of brought in and updated. But I can't recall if he flew at this Rosemont show or not. But either way, just that tour in general, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Just some closing thoughts here while we got you for this last, couple minutes here. Is there anything, I think we've kind of touched on it, but just something that you're looking forward to for this show? Is there something that you can put your finger on and go, okay, because we've been saying it before. Okay, this is probably my last show. This is probably my last show. I think we're butted up against the wall unless somebody's going to hand us tickets to New York. This anybody? No? Okay.
Anybody?
This is all going to be collectively our last show all at the same time, which is pretty cool. But is there something like when that curtain goes, the lights go out, that you want to be a mental moment or a physical thing? Like, I need one more jar of confetti, or I'm going to have to buy this. I'm not knocking it. I wish I had that idea. I'm like, I could have been collecting confetti this whole time. I should have met Xander 2 years ago. Dang it.
Yeah.
But just even one of those mental things. Maybe this is a weird question, but as a Kiss fan, is there something you're mentally going to check off and go, okay, now I can close this chapter of my history and it's done, or do you not know what that thing is yet?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that, again, there are some set list changes. I'm hoping that, again, a song like Making Love is one that I've never seen before. So I get to leave my last Kiss concert having seen something or heard something live from the band I never heard before. That would be super awesome. Obviously, the experience of meeting you and the Carusos and Brant and all getting together and recording is something awesome too, because it's like we're giving ourselves as much excuses to see Kiss as possible. And it's like, how many different things can I look forward to? And so that's definitely one. I may even decide to do some sort of vlog or sort of film the experience in some way. I usually don't do that, even though I am a Kiss YouTuber. And YouTubers are always trying to, like film their lives and do all that stuff.
But you want to be in that moment. There were times where I'm at a concert taking a film and I'm like, no, just be here. But in the back of my mind going, I should probably capture this moment, not only for myself so I can look back on it, but I'm like, do I want to have that private for me and go, no, I didn't film anything, So I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine, because it is that back and forth in your mind where you want, your natural instinct is to try and capture it and, make that moment last as long as you possibly can. But of course you risk, missing that moment and actually losing out on it. So I think, and you're right. I don't want to, miss anything. I want to be in the moment. And when we started the channel, Kiss Army Things, one of the things that we did was we uploaded a video of our experience at the 2015 Kiss Expo. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool because we had just gotten these cameras. And so Jeb and I just kind of filmed some fly on the wall stuff and put together a highlight compilation reel for our YouTube channel. And it was our first video to reach 1,000 views on the channel. Mm-hmm. And so it was really, really cool. And it's like, wow, we could do that at every single Kiss Expo and every single Kiss concert, right? Take your phone, take your camera, make it a whole thing. And, in 2016, when it was the Kiss Rocks Vegas Kiss Expo, I was like, yeah, we should bring our cameras and we'll film the whole thing. And then it was like, wait a minute, this isn't about Kiss anymore. It's about making sure we have enough space on our phones, making sure our batteries are charged. Do we have microphones? Well, wipe your camera lens off. And it's like, that's not what it's about. It's about being in the moment. So, But having said that, now that I've seen Kiss so many times and there is something special about this last show, I think it would be, for memory's sake, really cool to, because I'm going to be by myself traveling up to Rosemont. I'm not going to have anybody with me. So maybe it would be kind of cool to, film a video and maybe film something with you guys and record a little bit of the show. That way I can, with my amazing editing skills, but I put some video package together that I could have forever, and then maybe somebody else watching could get something out of it too. But I've been toying with the idea of maybe doing a vlog for that final show just to kind of send off, me seeing Kiss, and then broadly all of us Kiss Army seeing Kiss live, because it will be one of the last Kiss shows ever performed.
Yeah, we're four from the end. They go to Baltimore, then the last two in New York. And I did a little bit of that with the Dayton show. I was a little like, I don't know how much I'm going to film. And I kick myself for not taking a photo with you there. Like, of course, you meet somebody for the first time. You're like, hey, you want to take a photo? Like, dude, I've known you for like literally 30 seconds. Yeah. But, I did put a little like highlight reel for myself. And it was it wasn't as long as I had initially intended on. So I think having done that once, I might do it again. The wife and I will be driving up there. She'll stay at a hotel, and Brant's got a hotel close to the arena. So that might be a good meeting spot. And I know I posted it on our Instagram page, but Brant bought the sound check VIP, and I was toying with like trying to do the $1,000 meet and greet. And I'm like, I can't. So I'm also now doing the sound check. So Brant and I will both be there for that. So that's gonna be kind of cool to do that. And I probably shouldn't have said that sentence out loud, because I'm seeing, I literally saw the wheels in your head just go, because that was such a cool thing to be in that intimate setting and see them. And, we got pics and stuff, and Brant had a million questions about it. And I'm like, oh, that'd be fun to experience that with them again. In the back of my mind, I'm not trying to force anything. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if everybody.
No, I mean, I'm thinking that if I can maybe scrounge some money up between now and November, and there's still a ticket left, I will. Because again, I'm alone. There's no wife. There's no brother. Well, actually, Jeb will be with me, but he might just meet me at the show, since he lives, somewhere else now. So I may be able to sneak in a sound check experience myself. That'd be a really cool way to send off seeing Kiss and good content.
Yeah, it's all about extra content.
It's all about the content right now. Yeah, absolutely. Do it for the tube. No.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to get you on for this. Schedules kind of got a little out of whack, so I'm going to be cutting and splicing some of what you're possibly seeing in here. I don't know what I'm doing with the video content, but Xander's audio is going to be put in with the overall discussion, and then probably some of these chunks will just be Xander and I, and then Brant and I and the Carusos. But there will be a full episode where we are all on the screen at the same time. It's just scheduling just kind of got wonky here. So thanks for taking a little bit of your evening to get the first episode and the first one to record a Rosemont thing for our kickoff for the Road to Rosemont. Any final things before we start our journey? Because it's going to be a cool 6 months as we build up to this event.
Yeah, I can't believe it's only 6 months left. It's crazy to think about. It sucks because I'm not even 30 yet. So it's like, man, what am I going to do for the next 20, 30 years? But no, I'm very excited. I'm always thankful to see Kiss, and I'm always thankful to be able to meet new people and see friends again. So I'm going to be glad to see you again, and also meet Brant and the Carusos for the first time in person. I'm looking forward to it. And I know we're all going to have a good time, and I'm just glad that we all get to share that together. So I'm looking forward to it.
So we're putting up on the audio side of the podcast. I'm gonna be using the hashtag RBTE Rosemont for the next 6 months and anything that we're putting up. So if you are coming to the Rosemont show, hit us up. I mean, we're gonna do like a meet and greet amongst each other. But if you've been watching any of our shows, being In My Head, Kiss Army Things, Right Between the Eyes, hit us up. It'd be great to say hi, to meet some people that if you're in the Chicago area, you're going to the show. If you're going to be at Soundcheck, depending on who's all there, come say hey. It'd be cool just to be able to meet people on this experience, especially if you are going to be following this series, whether it's only locked in RBTE or if it goes out beyond Kiss Army Things and In My Head. I know Brant's going to be doing some, couple one-off shows too. So we're going to have a different theme for every RB or every Rosemont episode. We're going to have maybe pick your favorite songs that you're going to drive and listen to on Rosemont for coming up. So I'm coming up with some cool ideas, and everybody else will be brainstorming. So Xander, thanks buddy for hopping on and recording this piece, and it'll be my job to put it all together. So thanks a lot, everyone. And we'll get back to the show or wherever Rob's going to edit. So here we go. All right, Dan.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, let me end this.